Treasurer, good morning. So how will this loan scheme, this extended loan
Michael.
scheme, work in practice?
Well, this is an extended and expanded loan scheme, and the Commonwealth is guaranteeing up to 50% of these loans, with the banks guaranteeing the other 50%. And small business customers with a turnover under $50 million go and see their bank, and if they want to take out a loan either for working capital or for investment purposes, for example, buying a piece of machinery or doing a fit out or expanding their business, then they will be eligible for those loans. And this means that more money will be available at lower rates and for a longer period of time, with the tenor of these loans being extended from 3 to 5 years.
OK, we'll hear more on Thursday about the remodelled JobKeeper scheme. You've already said it'll be targeted, it'll be tapered. Will anybody after Thursday be able to get the $1,500 a fortnight?
Well, we are transitioning from the income support over time, and we do recognise, though, that this is a very challenging time for the Australian economy. The effective unemployment rate remains very high at just over 11%, even though we saw some strong numbers in terms of more than 210,000 people coming back into the job market last month, 60% of whom were women and 50% of whom were younger people. So there are some positive signs outside of Victoria about the recovery underway, and that's why we'll make an announcement about the specific details of the continued income support later this week, Michael.
OK, if not 1,500, is the figure after Thursday going to be closer to 1,000 for most workers on the scheme at the moment?
You can play pick a box and choose whatever number you like. I mean, we're going to release those details to the media, to the public at exactly the same time.
OK, well, the question I'm trying to get at is $1,500 affordable? You're talking about it being temporary and wanting to taper it off. Will there be a $1,500 payment for any worker after the scheme has changed?
Again, I'm not going to speculate about the specific numbers, but what I will say is that this program has seen more than $11 billion go out the door each month. It's the largest single support program the Australian government has ever introduced. It's supporting right now about 3.5 million workers, 900,000 businesses, equivalent to about 30% of the pre-COVID private sector workforce. So it's of enormous scale and it's of enormous effectiveness. It's really made a difference in helping to keep people in jobs and businesses in business and maintain that formal connection between the employers and their employees so that they can both get to the other side of the coronavirus crisis. OK, we had Richard Dennis from the Australia Institute on the show earlier. They have modelled various scenarios when it comes to JobSeeker, and the figures they've come up with, that if the government removes the temporary coronavirus supplement for JobSeeker, it'll force more than 650,000 Australians into poverty. Will the government remove entirely the supplement? Again, we recognise that there needs to be a transition, and that for the JobSeeker payment, it's helping to cushion the blow for many people who are doing it particularly tough at this time, whether they've lost their job or they're on other income support. So we're very conscious of that transition, but we also don't want to dull the incentives, Michael, for people to get back into the workforce, because outside of Victoria, jobs are coming back. Now, it will be a gradual process, and I don't want to overstate those numbers of jobs that are available, because obviously we are still in the middle of this pandemic. But there are jobs coming back, and we want people to find those jobs, to get into those jobs, and that's why we've got to get the balance absolutely right. Would you be happy, would you be comfortable with the JobSeeker payment going back to the old Newstart level of $40 a day? Again, I'm not going to get into that speculation. What I can say to you is that there will be continued support, whether it's people who are on JobKeeper, whether they're on JobSeeker. We recognise the challenges that they are confronting. The Morrison government's been with them every step of the way through this crisis, and will continue to be so with them every step of the way till we get to the end of this crisis. OK, universities have been doing it very tough. New South Wales University of New South Wales last week announced it was axing 500 staff. Monash University in Melbourne says it'll get rid of 300 people by the end of the year. So they're obviously in serious financial difficulty. Why won't the government consider bringing universities into the JobKeeper scheme? Well, what we have done is we've guaranteed their funding for domestic enrolments to their pre-COVID levels.
Well, I'll have to jump in, but the question specifically is on JobKeeper. Will the government consider bringing universities into the JobKeeper scheme, the remodelled JobKeeper scheme?
Look, we're not proposing to change those criteria. What we have done is provided additional support to our universities. But as you can understand, with the international borders being closed, the university sector, with international education being very lucrative for our country and for those universities, has been severely diminished, and that's a reflection of the health restrictions that have been put in place. So, education, like tourism, like hospitality, like the arts sector, have all been hit, but they've also been provided with additional government support to get them through.
Okay, finally, you're a Melburnian. You'll be travelling to Canberra to hand down this big statement on Thursday. How is that going to work?
Well, there are certain arrangements that are put in place. Obviously, I'll be masking up and following the health restrictions that have been required of me, making that trip. But this is a very difficult time for those of us in Victoria, as you know, Michael. People are fearful. People are very concerned. Not only has there been that harsh economic impact where people have lost their jobs or seen their small businesses close, but kids are not getting together with their grandparents or seeing their friends at school, and obviously homeschooling continues. And now with the masks, now that is a necessary move by the Victorian government. I welcome that because I think it will help diminish the health risks. But this is a very, very challenging time for us here in Victoria. It's not a time for state of origin. It's a time for the whole of the country to come together.
Is it a time for political points? I want to ask you about your mate Tim Smith, local Victorian state MP. I think your electorates overlap. He, as a lot of people would know, has been quite florid on Twitter, calling Dan Andrews, Chairman Dan, Dictator Dan. Overnight, he's likened wearing masks to being muzzled. Is that sort of commentary helpful?
Well, I'd say, as I just said to you about masks, I think they are an important step based on the medical advice that will help to keep us all safe. Tim will make the points that he does. What I will do
are they helpful
as
points,
the Federal Treasurer...
Are they helpful points?
Well, that they're there for him to explain. But as you know, the federal government, the Morrison government, has worked very closely with the Andrews government. We have more than 1,200 Defence Force personnel deployed here in Victoria. More than 800 Commonwealth officials were funded, 28 respiratory clinics to undertake more than 55,000 tests. We are doing everything possible to support the Victorian government. And you won't hear from Scott Morrison or myself anything but a cooperative approach to help stem the tide of new cases.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thanks for joining us and safe travels on Thursday.
Thank you, Michael.